welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Let's continue our playthrough of Aeon's End or Eternal. Now, there's one thing I want to correct, and I want to thank an individual from my subscriber base for pointing this out, because it's a huge plus for me, because I actually just mistakenly put the wrong card in the wrong deck. The individual's name is Nardran, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. That's the username, and they mentioned in their comment, that's in a pinned comment in the past video, that the Mage's Tome, which I purchased, at that particular time I was using the World Heart Shard in order to acquire that. And at the very bottom of that card you can see you're supposed to put it in the Allies discard pile, so this should have never gone into Maza's deck, which means it never should have gone into my hand. So at this point, we've already drawn our hand, so the best thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over and put it at the top of this deck so that it'll show up on the next hand. And then, of course, I have to pull an additional card in order to correct this, so that because Maza wouldn't have actually had that card. So there we go. Now we're all squared away, and we're ready to jump into the first round of the game. So, first round of the game. This is not the first round of the game, but the first round of this video. So let's go ahead and flip this card over and see who's going first. Number 2, so that is, in fact, Yan. So Yan's going to be going first. All right, well, Yan has a couple things going on here. We've got the ability to potentially throw damage here. So as you can see, we have Illuminate, says while prepped, you focus or open one of your breaches during your turn, deal 1 damage, or we can just cast for 1 damage. Now there's no point, and this was also mentioned in earlier playthroughs, of just doing the cast at this point, because we are in the casting phase. The reason being is if I cast it, the card disappears, whereas if I leave it in a breach and I continue to use that top ability, because it's always been prepped, and I don't have to fire this off because it's in an open breach, then I can keep using that skill over and over again. So every time I focus any kind of breach or open one, I can, pin a damage against either one of the minions in play, or potentially even against the Nemesis itself. So in this case, I'm going to probably go that road. The other question is that I have the Spark that's in an open breach. I could cast that to do 1 damage, and I may do that. I may do that because we do have to whittle this this individual down a bit. But the first thing I'll focus on is maybe focusing a breach or opening one. So what I'm going to do in this situation is I'm going to, let me think about this. So in my current hand right now, I have nothing that would be able to prep, but I don't want to go to spending cards just yet because we're still in the casting phase. So I'm going to go ahead and actually cast this particular Spark, although I'm a little hesitant. No, let's do it. Let's cast it. So I'm going to cast this particular one. I'll go to my discard pile. That's going to knock this minion down to 1. I'm choosing to hit the minion. The reason I'm doing this is because the persistent ability says that any player is going to suffer 2 damage every single time, and I don't want that to keep happening. We've already taken some damage on both characters so far. So we now have an open breach that's empty. We're now going to move into the player turn for the main phase. So at this particular point, I can start spending my cards. I don't have much more than Ether this time. So in this particular case, I probably want to focus on opening up or focusing a breach. So I think that's a decent strategy. We're going to probably go ahead and focus this breach, although I could focus, you can focus any number of breaches as many times as you want, as long as you can pay the Ether to do it. So I could focus this one multiple times, or do one here, but it makes more sense to get this one to a cheaper cost maybe eventually, so I can actually open it completely. So what I'll probably do is I'm going to go ahead and focus this one for 3. So we're going to take 3 crystal cards and pay that up. And that's going to allow me to focus this breach. So this one here is going to pop over like this, and of course when I do that focus, it's also because of the Illuminate skill spell being prepped, it's going to actually put 1 damage on this individual, and I'm choosing to hit the damage against this individual. I could also pin it against the 70 for the Nemesis, but I'm going to continue to hit this guy until we can get rid of him. And then again, I'm going to use another 2. This one here is gain 2 and then 1, so that we can actually spend both of those in order to focus this one again. And then I'll bring it around to here. So now that's another damage. So it's down to 2. It's almost gone. And then hopefully, my hope is, fingers crossed, that either this character will be able to go again before the Nemesis card comes out, or Maza will be able to go again. My odds are high because I technically still have 3 versus 2 in this deck in terms of allies versus Nemesis cards. So anyway, at this point now, we're going to go ahead and discard all our cards. I want this one to be at the top of the deck next time because it's such a great Ether card. And also I want to take a quick look here at the bottom portion of the text to make sure we're not missing anything. It says you may place the next card you gain this turn on top of your deck. So that would have been great. It would have been fantastic to go after a card that round, but I'm deciding to actually go after the minions so that it doesn't keep hitting our players, which kind of sucks because it would have been nice to bat. And that's part of the strategy. You get to choose that way. And there wouldn't be any wrong answer necessarily in that situation. Okay, so at this point we have used all of the cards that we possibly can, and I never cast this during the casting phase, so it still sits there. At this point in time, we just basically pull up our 5 cards for the next turn. So we're going to have the mage. Of course, we knew the totem there was there from the get-go. The really cool thing about jagged lightning, awesome. A couple things that's going to be really handy as we go through. We're getting lots of interesting cards to use next hand. Not as much in terms of ether to purchase things, but we got some good stuff up there. So we'll have to take a look at those when the turn comes back around again. So at this particular point, we'll now pull another turn order card to see what happens. And we got a 1, so we got lucky. So we're going to come over here to Maza. So Maza, of course, really wants to put more damage on this Howling Spinner. Of course, I only have 1 spark currently in my breach, but I think I'm going to actually spend at this point to just to put some damage against this this individual. So we're now down to 1, and then we're going to go ahead and start spending our. Let's start putting some spells, maybe putting them in prepping them, I should say. We got a Spark and we have Aurora, so both of these are great. Aurora is the really powerful one with 5. It says, while prepped once per turn during your main phase, you may gain 1 charge, or you can cast to deal 3 damage. And of course, those are 2 separate things happening. So one's kind of like a while prepped ability, and the other is a cast during the casting phase. So we're definitely going to put this in an open breach because that's going to be handy. And I might as well put the Spark in this open breach as well. So again, now that we've prepped those spells, it says, while prepped once per turn during your main phase, and we currently are in our main phase, you may gain 1 charge. So I'm going to go ahead and charge up because that's awesome. That's going to help Maza actually start to beef up Gravehold, which at some point, which is going to be really handy to get Gravehold back up. Right now, the damage on Gravehold is 26, so 4 extra on Gravehold. If we can get up to the 4 charges, which shouldn't be too hard, we can actually get the health back up to 30. That'd be fantastic if we don't get hit too hard later on. So left over, we have a couple cards here. We have the World Heart Shard. So this one says gain an ether or gain 2 that can only be used to gain a card. So again, we probably should go after a card. And again, we got to remember if we do this, we put it in the allies deck. We'll play this correct this time. So this case, I don't have to play it like that. I can use it for 3 total instead of 4 total. If I use it for 3 total, the card goes into my deck. If I use it for 4 total, it goes into Yan's deck. So let's take a look at what we can go after. Really tempted to, let me see here. Ooh, so we have this card here, which allows me to focus breaches, which is really good. And it's focus any player's breach. That's really powerful. So we could really open up a lot of stuff. We can also destroy it to gain life back. I'm going to probably, this is tough. I'm going to probably go after that. So let's go ahead and take this one for 4. This is going to actually end up going into Yan's deck. So we're going to go ahead and put this into... do we really want that in Yan's deck, though? That's kind of the hard part. This one here... well, focusing a breach... I don't know. Focus a breach or destroy this to gain 3 life. It's kind of like, do we want to heal? Do we not want to heal? It's not a bad card to have, though. Not a bad card to have. You know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. It's going to help us get our breaches open faster. So let's go for it. So this one here, just to be totally clear, when we use this ether to pay for it, it says it's going to go at the top of the allies discard pile. So let's go ahead and put Primordial Flash at the top of the discard pile. So just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and take the World Heart Shard as well as the 2 crystals we used to pay for it. And we're going to put them in the spent area, but then we're going to essentially be putting them back in our deck. I want to put them back in this order. That's the coolest thing with the game, is being able to stack them as you wish. So they're all there. And that essentially wraps up my turn. Now, the sad thing was I wasn't able to put the extra damage on to kill this minion. So there's a chance the Nemesis could actually trigger right now, and that would be bad, because then we'd have to deal with, well, it would be bad for the sense we'd have to deal with a Nemesis turn, and nobody wants that. So let's go ahead and pull this turn order deck, see what happens. There we go. Nemesis is going to go now. So, and sorry, just before we finish, we should probably make sure we actually have cards for next turn. So we got a crystal, we got frozen at Magmite, we have another crystal. So this looks like a good purchasing hand, yes. So it looks like it's going to be fantastic for buying stuff. That's going to be awesome. We're going to be able to acquire something really good with that. Okay, so the Nemesis got triggered, which means sadly we weren't able to kill this minion off in time. So it says any player suffers 2 damage. Now what you'll notice here is with the Primordial Flash, there's an option I have eventually to destroy the card to gain 3 life, and I have 2 of them, one in my hand, one in my deck. So if anyone's going to take damage, it would make most sense to be hitting Yan, because Yan can potentially heal, whereas I don't have anything, I don't think, that I remember from Maza that can actually heal. So let's give Yan that damage, and then we'll continue on. So we're going to go ahead now and flip a card and cross our fingers that it's not terrible. Oh my goodness. So we got a grubber. Okay, so it's a persistent again. This won't happen until the next time the Nemesis card comes out. It says if the Nemesis has 2 turn order cards in the turn order discard pile, Umbra Titan loses 1 Nemesis token. Otherwise, Gravehold suffers damage. That's bad too. That's really nasty. So let's go ahead and get a 5 die out. Drop it right like that. And of course, what we'll do is we'll actually put them in order. So I'll have this one here as the first one that came into play, second one that came into play. There we go. Okay, so that's that, and that's all there is. Now we're going to go ahead and pull turn order and just pray we do not get another Nemesis. Okay, whew, that was close. So at this particular point, we're actually in good shape because it's not going to be Yan that goes, because that's player number 2. It's going to be Maza, and it's perfect because I can actually cast a spark, which I'm going to do. And this casting is going to kill off this, not the grubber, sorry, but the howling spinners. So we've now eliminated the howling spinners, which is good, helping us a little bit just in time for this guy to come out. The next thing we're going to do is take a quick look again at this Aurora card. So again, we can, while prepped once per turn during your main phase, you may gain a charge. So this is the thing, we're in the casting phase right now. So I either have to choose, do I want to put 3 damage on this grubber, that doesn't necessarily kill it though, or do I want to go ahead and get the charge? To be totally honest, the fact that I don't have, well, actually, it all comes down to that turn order, because if I pull a card that happens to allow me to start focus, yeah, that's going to be tough. I have Primordial Flash, which will allow me to focus, which gives a damage from Illuminate. It could work, but I just don't know who's going to go first. The Nemesis, I could kill this guy off. I just don't know if it's going to be Nemesis or player number 1, or player number 2, sorry. So that's the fun part about this game, is trying to make your best guess. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, I really don't want to do this though. I really wanted to heal Gravehold. And I'm not going to be able to prep any spells this turn either, which is bad. I will be able to do Jagged Lightning next time. What does this thing do again? It's going to let me lose a Nemesis token, which triggers if there's 2 discarded Nemesis cards or Gravehold suffers more damage. That's the risk, really. Choices. Let's go ahead and... so tough. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and... I'm going to cast it, I think. Yeah, let's cast it. Everything inside me doesn't want to do this. Because it's a big risk. I would have loved to have kept that in my open breaches for a while, but I need to get rid of this guy. So I'm going to cast this, cross my fingers, and hope that this actually pans out. So that's going to hit this individual for 3 damage, which is solid. So down to 2. I'm going to hope that Yang gets the ability to go again. I'm going to make sure that we actually haven't pulled the 2 twice yet. Don't think we have. Nope. So there is a chance. I do have a chance. Yikes. Okay, so that's been cast. Now we're going to go ahead and spend some ether. So we got all kinds of cards up here. Again, we got that Frozen Megmite. It says you can place the next card that you gain is turned on top of your deck, which is really cool because it'll go right here. So essentially, what do we do here? We've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is really solid. So this one here allows me to do Nova Forge. While prepped once per turn, your main phase, you may gain 2. That can only be used to gain a spell or deal 4 damage. That's awesome. I'm definitely going after Nova Forge. So we're going to take Nova Forge and we're going to put this card. Now again, when I gain this, it says you may place the card. You may place the next card you gain this turn on top of your deck. So it's going to go like this, which is great. And now what we're going to do is all these cards disappear. So, but of course we always want to make sure, not necessarily, but it's your choice. You put them however you want back in the discard pile, but we want that to come up again as fast as possible because it really helps us with the ether. You can see the deck is starting to get quite large. And that is it. That's all I've got. Now, technically I could have opened that breach that turn, but I don't think it's going to be... what I'd rather do is have Yan help me focus this one more time and then only spend 3 ether later to get it completely open. That's my mindset. Okay, so we've now done that. We're going to go ahead and pull our hand. So we, of course, get Nova Forge. This deck then flips completely over, and we're going to pull 4 cards from it to fill this row. So we got a Spark. That's good. Got another Spark. Okay, so we're going to be able to do some small-time damage, I guess. And we got a World Shard and a Crystal. It's an interesting hand, but that Nova Forge is huge. Okay, so this is where all the marbles come down in terms of whether my plan works or fails. This all hinges on whether this is the Nemesis card or not. If it's a Nemesis card, I don't get a chance to kill this thing off. I'm crossing my fingers, even though I can't. Please let this be number 1. Ah, no, the Nemesis gets to go again. Worst. Okay, so that plan failed. In this case, it says if the Nemesis has 2 turn order cards in the discard pile, Umbra Titan loses 1 Nemesis token. So as of right now, we just lost our first Nemesis token. Worst. And the other thing says otherwise, Gravehold would take 2 damage, but we already dealt with the first part of that card. Now that we've done that, we're going to pull a card from the Nemesis deck and see what else terrible things happen. Oh geez, Seismic Roar, this is a power, so it says to discard we need to spend 6 ether, yikes. It's a power 3, Umbra Titan loses 2 Nemesis tokens. So how this power card is going to actually work is Seismic Roar has 3 power tokens on it. Every time going forward we pull a Nemesis card, we're going to remove a power token until all of them are gone, and once all of them are gone, then we have to actually fulfill the power 3, which is Umbra Titan loses 2 Nemesis tokens, which will be 2 of these. So I have a little bit of time to get rid of this, and how we get rid of it says to discard, spend 6 ether. So really we just need to get a decent hand of ether, and then we can hopefully get rid of that. As of right now, my hands are not looking ether heavy, so we might be in a little bit of trouble. But we'll try to do our best. So at this point, that's the end of the Nemesis turn. And of course, we know exactly who's coming up next. So we're going to flip this over. And it's player number 2. So this is Yan. So Yan is finally here. And we should be able, with what we got going on here, to deal some damage. Hopefully to the grubber and take it out of play. So let's take a look at what we got for cards here. So the very first thing is the Primordial Flash allows me to focus any player's breach. So I think it makes perfect sense to go ahead and do this. Or sorry, before we do that, we're going to go ahead and cast anything we have in here. So the question is, can I kill this thing? Is it worth it? I don't know. If I cast this, I deal a damage. And then if I... do I have anything else that allows me to deal damage? I do not. I really don't. So I'm actually only going to be able to hit this thing for 1. If I leave it here, and then I go into my main phase, if I focus using Primordial Flash, that would put a damage on him, bring him down to 1. And then if I try, the only downside is I don't have enough to focus another breach because I only have 2 crystals, and the next one, because this one will have gone to the open status, so not fully open, but it'd still be focused. This one here, it needs 4 ether. I don't have that. So I can't actually generate 2 focuses a turn, which would allow Illuminate to hit this grubber twice. So no matter what I do here, I can't actually kill this grubber this turn, even though I thought I could. So that's not good. Just trying to see if I've missed anything here. I don't think I have. I might as well prep Jagged Lightning, so we'll go ahead and do that. Put Jagged Lightning in here. I might as well keep this here because there's no reason in shooting it if I can't kill this thing. And it says while prepped, so I will be able to do 1 damage. So let's go ahead with Primordial Flash, or Fetish, I should say. I think I've said Flush a couple times, so I apologize for that. We're going to go ahead and say focus any player's breach, so I can choose anybody I want. I'm actually going to choose my own breach here, so I'm going to turn this one to 3. So now it's a little easier, and of course by having Illuminate here, that then does a damage, or I choose it to do a damage to grubber. Okay, and then what's next? What is next? Let's do, let's see here. Yeah, not much I can do there. And then with, okay, so I have 2 crystals remaining. 2 crystals. I could use this to get a charge. What would this help me with my charge situation down here? Gain a card from any supply if you have 4 open breachers. Oh wow, get a card from any supply. That'd be really good. Maybe I should get a charge. That would be pretty awesome. I could hopefully, if I could get the crystallized card, that thing is awesome. I don't know if you guys can see the description there, but if you take a quick read at that, that thing is super powerful. So let's see here. 2 crystals. Yikes. And then we also still have the totem, which says destroy a gem or relic you played this turn, or destroy the card. I'd probably destroy the gem or relic. Probably destroy a crystal or something. Or I could try to gain life with Gravehold. It is only a 2. That might be the best thing to do there. The idea with destroying a gem or relic, just so you guys know strategy-wise, is of course if you're destroying gems or relics, you're slowly taking the cards out that basically are taking up a slot in your hand and starting to replace them with cards that hopefully you've built up in your deck that are more powerful so that your hands become more aggressive and efficient as the game goes on. So that's the fun part, is figuring out when is the right time to start doing that, filtering those cards out. But at this point, yeah, I have 2 ether to spend. I got to make my mind up here. So let's go ahead. With 2 ether, the only thing I could do is pick up this, which is nice, I guess, but I just don't know if that's exactly what I want right now. I think I'd probably prefer to have the extra charge. So let's do the extra charge down here. So we have 4. We'll take these 2, put them in the spent area. In terms of the totem, I think what I might actually do with the totem is I think I might destroy this to gain life. So I'm actually going to get rid of it, and then I'm going to bump the life back up. I'm just going to double check really quick to make sure that that's on the right spot. And yes, it's Gravehold. So Gravehold's going to be up to 27. Okay, so we healed that up a little bit. And I think that's going to do it. So then we're going to take our crystals, throw them over here. We're going to go over here and pull cards until we see the rest. So we got a crystal. We got a crystal. And then we need to take our discard pile, flip it over to create our deck. We got a spark. We got a frozen magmite. And we got a crystal. Okay. All right, and that's essentially going to end this particular round. So in the next video here, we're going to stop right here. In the next video, we'll pick it up. I'm going to shuffle this deck up again. We're going to go through another round. We're going to hope to continue our journey here. We're also going to hope to put enough strong cards in play and have enough of these removed that we can start hammering the Nemesis, because that's another way to win. We definitely need to kill the Nemesis, so that is the way to win. So let's go ahead and end it here. Hope you guys are really enjoying the playthrough so far. If you have any tips and stuff like that you want to send through, feel free to do so. I'll see you in the next episode of Aeon's End War Eternal. As always, keep on rolling solo.